right, and very shortly we will be starting with an exciting match. Depending on how it goes, it could be one of the most exciting matches of the tournament. We got an up and coming player here, Plague, versus none other than the creator of this game, Zack. We're just setting up now. Looks like it's a Sindel mirror. Coin flip comes up heads. Plague choosing to go second. The standard choice for almost every player in every matchup. When you go second in CG, you are the first person to draw a card. The first player cannot attack, just has their 5 starting cards and gains 4 stars for the start of their turn. But the second player, in addition to gaining stars, also draws a card, and that card advantage is considered super valuable. In most cases, neither player is going to be attacking until much later in the game. And that's why people choose to go second. Another good thing to pay attention to here is that both players have the planet card Sindel. Every time a Sindel creature on your planet is killed by an opponent's attack or creature ability, you gain 1 star. So these creatures are going to be dying in various different ways, and that's going to give both players extra stars to work with throughout this game. If they remember, I'll try to keep track of that for these players as well, to make sure that they're gaining stars drawing cards, getting Sindel effects, everything is happening in order, in accordance to the rules. And quickly, Zack passes it over to Plague, and Plague quickly passes it back. Zack draws again here, gains 4. We might just see this back. Second draw, perhaps a misclick here. So we'll have to sort that out. We play this game on untap.in, and sometimes it can be a little bit laggy. So you press the draw button, you don't draw for a moment, so you assume it didn't go through, so you draw again, and then you get both of your draws at once. But it shouldn't be too big of a problem. Both these players have already taken 1 win against an opponent. We can even look over the road they took to get here. Zack beat Harry Knight in a close game, and Plague beat Super Cooler. And so both of these players are now in round 2 of this tournament. Unfortunate to see that there is some lag on Zack's side. Hopefully that won't be too debilitating, but sometimes anything that's annoying can throw you off your game. If the game's laggy, maybe you're rushing to finish off your turns earlier. To get it over with. Maybe you're more impatient. Maybe you're not thinking clearly now. And in case anyone's forgotten, the winner of the tournament will be winning their deck, signed by Zack right here. In fact, it'll be interesting to see what happens if Zack wins the entire thing. But there's a lot of great players in this one. All the big names are here, and so probably it won't be him who's winning, buying a resource zone now. There are also the stakes of a lot of these games are gonna be recorded. A couple players are streaming this tournament, including Secret. And who knows, hopefully we can get as much coverage as possible of these games. It's just one game here. Whoever wins it, whoever reaches that 20-point number, will win and move on. There is no sideboard, there is no best of three, there are no second chances. One of these players will be eliminated right here, right now, in no more than an hour, most likely. Might be 30 minutes, could be 20 minutes, could be 15 minutes, depending on how these players choose to play. Zack now applying the first pressure, buying a Wakuman and swinging for a single point. It's nice to start out with these cards that when they die, you also draw a card, because then when they die, you're not down on card advantage, which normally happens if you were to attack with a more vanilla creature, for example, a Skelipede. Now, even if Plague does attack and kill this Wakuman, Zack will draw a card from the Wakuman's effect, gain a star from Sindel, and he'll be ready to respond to whatever Plague has in store. Which right now seems like nothing. Plague is just passing as Zack gains a couple of points. This is a common strategy because later in the game you're going to be seeing much more big swings, bigger swings than 1 point over and over. Could be as big as 7, 8, 9, 10 points sometimes. So if you need to take some time to set up your board and stars, just be in a more comfortable spot with your hand, it's totally okay to give up a couple points early. But you can't do that forever. And here we see Zamrazed. When that card comes into play, you get to create an extra creature zone. Let me just refresh to clarify. But we see here a new tech from Plague. You're wondering, how did Plague get all 3 creature zones here? Well, the first one costs 2. Then he plays Zamrazed. Or the first one costs 2, but he doesn't play Zamrazed just yet. Then he pays 4 for the second. And now normally the third would cost 8. But instead he plays Zamrazed, buying the third zone for 8 stars, effectively gaining him 8 free stars with this Zamrazed and killing the creature. You don't tend to need the third creature zone until a little bit later in the game. And so Plague is down 4 stars now that he could have had if he had simply not bought that second creature zone. But unless Zack can apply some early pressure later in the game, Plague will certainly appreciate the extra stars / the third creature zone. Orbov also comes down. Very, very non-committal play from Plague here. Not playing any big creatures, just some small guys that get additional value. Zamrazed, yes, it's a body on board, but it also gains you a creature zone, or any zone, actually, in this case a creature zone. Orbov as well. It's mostly used for the fact that when it is in grave, it can come back and defend against a lot of points at the opportune moment. Zack has to find something against this Zamrazed though, because while blocking 1 point's not too bad, 2 over and over adds up very quickly. Just 10 attacks and that's game over from a 2-point swinger. So instead we see Kalelion here. When this creature dies, you gain a point. You also gain the star from Sindel, so it's kind of a free card in a way. That's going to give Zack plenty of stars to work with. Now we see a battle zone being bought, indicating potentially And another Zamorzet, and we see the same strategy from Plague here. Doesn't need 3 battle zones right now, but wants to make sure that he can use that Zamorzet to get the 3rd battle zone, so later he's not going to have to pay 8 stars, a hefty cost for it. Plague is thinking here, maybe going to go for a 3rd creature. That's going to be bad if Zack has Beast here. 3 creatures, swinging, kill the Kalelion, swing for maybe 5 points. If Zack has Beast here, though, that can be real tough. Instead, playing it a little slower here. Gonna go Orwell into Kalelion, swing with Zamorzed for 2 points. Zack will get a point as well. And the star. And now he'll draw and gain stars for turn. And we're in the exact same spot as we were last turn, with Zack having to find a way to kill Zamorzed and Orbov here. It's not the most formidable board, but sometimes these small boards can be annoying to deal with because you can't play something like a Crash against them. It would just be a waste. Instead, we see Gatomic Gerbil come down that allow him to search his deck for Gi. We'll see if he plays it down right now. Not going to be able to kill Orbov or Zamorzed, so that'll mean that Play gets to keep one of those creatures for next turn. If Zack does play the Gi. Could also just kill Zamorzed and pass. Killing that Orbov's not so important. It can only swing for 1 point, doesn't have much health, doesn't have much power. Really, its use is once it's in the grave. Zamorzed's the creature you want to get rid of here. Gi coming down as well, suggesting Zack has another Gatomic creature to play. When Gi is killed, you get to free play a Gatomic creature from your hand, and those tend to have special effects when free played by Gi. If you play a Gerbil Gren here, you would draw a card. There's one that gets back an activator, which isn't relevant here. There's one that kills a card on your opponent's field. But right now, Plague doesn't have something that valuable on his field, so it might be a good time to kill this Gi here with like a Guster or some weak creature. And the best that can do is free play some Gatomic that doesn't really do much. But then again, that Gerbil Gren does have 260 power. That's a 3-point swinger. That card's more important to get rid of. Let's see now how Plague responds. Walkman, not big enough to swing over either Gi or Gerbil Gren. 120 power. And just a pass here from Plague. This could be Zack's chance. That Walkman kind of is played as a stall card. It's going to be hard for Zack to get any points this turn, or even kill both these creatures. Probably just has to choose which one of them he wants to kill. Unless there's a Blaze Elixir. Okay, well now, that's going to allow that Gerbil Gren to kill 2 creatures this turn, to attack twice. And so if Zack wanted, he could even go for points. But looks like he's just going to hold the Gi in reserve. Killing Orba first. Wonder what Plague's thinking on here. Could play a Planetary Field, stopping the attack. But you only get one of those. Looks like that is not the case. So Walkman will die, Plague will get a star, draw, gain 4, and has a sizable hand and 12 stars to find a way to deal with this Gatomic Gerbil Gren. If it was a threat before, it is now imperative that Plague gets rid of this card. Because every turn, those 2 attacks are going to deal a lot of damage. Skelequeen, 400 power. That's more than enough to kill that Gren. But if Zack has a field here, it could be very big. Big commitment here from Plague Starwise. 8 stars down, down to 4. Swings into Gren. And Zack does have the planetary field. Planetary field, when a creature enters a battle zone, that creature cannot attack. Skelequeen cannot attack, kill the Gerpal Gren, which will mean that Gerpal Gren with the Blaze Elixir will be able to do 2 more attacks next turn. That's a lot of value coming from those cards. Of course, unlike Plague, Zack just has the 2 creature zones, which means he can't put a lot more pressure. It would be too costly to buy the 3rd creature zone right here and play another creature to try to do much more than just kill the Skelequeen and the Orbov. And here we see it. Gerpal Gren kills the Skelequeen, kills the Orbov, and now Gi's attacking. Will Gi attack here? Plague thinking on field again, presumably. Choosing not to play it here, assuming he's not bluffing. Gi attacks planet, no beast from Plague. Just the point here, but now it's up to Plague to find another way to kill that Gerpal Gren. But Plague has Skelligast. Normally, it's kind of hard to get those cards early. That's a huge win for Plague. Skelligast can allow him to pay a star to free play that Skelequeen. 1 star for a 400 power creature right here. And those 2 cards will be able to both kill the Gerpal Gren, kill the Gerpal Gren, and the Gi. Let's see what creature Zack plays off of the Gi here. Gi will trigger its ability. For a Atomic Gork. Atomic Gork, that's going to allow Zack to put Planetary Field back into his hand. You can only do that once per activator, so even if Zack played the Planetary Field and played another Atomic Gork, he would not be allowed to get field back into his hand a second time. But that means that field, which was so pivotal in that moment to save that blazed Gerpal, can come back again and get more value. The one thing about the Skelligast cards is that they have very low health, just 80 each. I mean, that's part of the effect. You can only free play creatures with 80 or less health via Skelligast. And that means a lot of cards in Zack's deck are going to be able to kill them. Skelequeen is one of those. Looks like they're both on the Skele package. I mean, it's overkill. The 400 power, you only need 80. That's 5 times more power than you need. Now they're entering battle zones. Plague here again probably has the option to field. Could also free play an Orbov at this spot, but not really necessary. Again, Plague choosing to conserve his resources, doing the bare minimum to respond to Zack's boards and no more. Plague here choosing to keep these cards. They are engraved, but he's putting them on the side for easy accessibility. As we'll see, Skelligast, Skelequeen, those cards are going to come to play many, many times throughout this game. Not just now, this deck is built around playing those cards more than just once, getting that value off as frequently as possible. And now Plague here taking a huge gamble with Cerbram of Sindel. Why is it a huge gamble? Well, Plague only has 2 stars right now, which seems like no big deal, except that if Zack were to have a for sale sign in this moment, Zack could buy back the Cerbram of Sindel and steal that expensive card, get it for himself, and Plague would not have the option to buy it back on the following turn. For sale sign means that when you attach to a creature, you can pay the cost of that creature to add it to get it to your planet. You functionally steal it from your opponent, which both kills it and plays it for you. That would be big. Of course, you can only play 1 for sale sign per deck, so it's not the most likely Zack has it, but if he does, Plague's going to be hurting. Nope, instead, normally you want to play Crash on a multi-creature board. I mean, depending on the decks. I'll put an asterisk next to that because there's certain cards that block Crash if it's on a multi-creature board. But that's a conversation for another time. Crash comes onto Cerbram of Sindel. When Cerbram is killed, you get to free play 1 small Sindel creature from your deck, and it's going to be that Bondbeak. Bondbeak also has an ability. When Bondbeak dies, you get to kill a creature from your galaxy. And you'd want to do that so you can use cards like Skelligast and Skelequeen. Get that Walkman engraved, get the Skelequeen engraved, and then play them back with cards like Bone Ladder, which lets you free play a Sindel creature if you have enough engrave, or Forces of Justice. I'm sure we'll see these cards later on, but right now it's just a Bondbeak, nothing too scary, and Zack has the opportunity to potentially go for some points here. Tough thing for Zack is that those 2 Orbovs are really annoying. Anytime Zack wants to make a big swing, that Orbov can come in and block it. Plague's going to bide his time. Maybe waiting to see when Zack swings for 4 points. And then the Orbov can come out and entirely stop those points. Orbovs can easily block 7-8 points throughout the game, meaning that Zack effectively has to get not 20, but 27, 28, 29 points in order to win. Atomic Crystal, a card not usually played in Atomics, often plays a lighter package. Have to read it actually. If this creature is played by the ability of Gi, you can play one of your killed 4-star lower Atomic creatures. So it's a free play that's not going to be relevant here, just used as a body. Zack calling out Plague here, claiming that he's bluffing on Beast. Plague is not bluffing on Beast, however. Has it. Sending both of those cards to the grave. Probably not the strongest value Beast, but maybe that's all Plague has to kill these cards. Maybe he wants to go on the aggressive and doesn't think he'll have a moment to use it later on in the game. And now the board is open for Plague to come back with a swing. Here we see Forces of Justice. If you have 3 creatures from different planets in your grave, you can add 1 4-star or lower creature to your hand. So we got Sindel, we got Syndian, and we got Polysium. That makes 3, which will allow Plague to play the Skelligast to his hand. Then he plays it for 3, pays 1 more for the Queen, and now he's swinging 4. 4 points here. Is he choosing to swing with both? Looks like just the one. Plague is fearing Zack's Beast so much so that he doesn't even want to put in that Skelligast. It's normally not that strong of a card once its effect has been used, but Plague's choosing to keep those bodies on board at all costs. And now we see the return. Zack comes with his own Skelligast, free plays his own Skelequeen. And both players with the same board, just for this moment, until Plague comes and plays a field here. That'll stop the attack, preserve these creatures, and allow Plague to use them next turn. Now we see this card I mentioned earlier for Sail Sign, can be attached to Skelligast. When you buy back Skelligast, now it's removing the body, it's on Plague side. Skelligast's bot would have been like a 6 or 4 point swing. Huge swing here for Plague, stopped by the planetary field. And now it's on Zack. But the thing about For Sale Sign is that either player can use it. Zack can, if he wants, pay 3, buy back the Skelligast for himself, and do something very similar to Plague. Skelepede comes down. This is a card that used to be super popular, but has fallen out of favor ever since Skelequeen was released. Both cards get free played by Skelligast, except Pede has much less power. However, in exchange, you get this effect that when a creature with 8 or less health is killed, you gain a point. Could be yours or your opponent's, meaning Zack can kill the Ghast and gain a point while he clears out Plague's board. And I really like this. Skelligast staying in play with the For Sale Sign means that he can buy it back next turn, removing instead the harder to kill threats, which are Plague's natural outs. Of course, this does mean that if Plague has another Forces of Justice, he can get back his own Skelligast again, play it again, free play Queen, and do the whole charade over again. No one said we sealed Thorngobork. Thorngobork, a 1-star, only has 60 power, not even enough to kill either of the Skellies. Guster, however, that's going to help. Killing that creature zone, Zack paid 8 precious stars for. And now we'll clear the board. This is a position where if you're Zack, you'd love to play a Crash here. Getting rid of 3 creatures, and when Thorngobork dies, normally you draw a card if it's from attack, but if you do it via a Galaxy Crash, there is no card draw. Crash would be real great for Zack here if he hadn't used it a little bit earlier, likely because that was the only way he could kill a Cerbram. Zack can't even play 3 creatures to kill Plague's 3 because he only has 2 creature zones, 2 battle zones. If he wants to attack 3 times, that almost certainly means he needs 3 creature zones and 3 battle zones. That's a whole 16 stars. And we're seeing how Plague's early use of those Zamazeds, not for the 4-star creature zone, but for the 8-star creature zone, have allowed him now to get this huge lead and put up these 3 creature boards that are much, much harder to get rid of. Pelfem here from Zack is huge though, bouncing up that Skelligast. Normally the fact that you bring it up is kind of a drawback because the owner of that card can play it again. In this case, Zack is the owner, meaning that he could reuse the Skelligast when it is convenient for him. Walkman and Pelfam attack. Pelfam gets over Guster. Walkman kills that Thorngabork. That's going to give Plague a draw here from the Thorngabork when it's dead. Plus the drop return. Plus 4 stars. Should give him plenty of ways to deal with this board from Zack. Any card that gets him a Skellicast would do it, and manually playing one from hand is one of those ways. Skelligast has enough to kill over Walkman. Skelequeen can kill over Pelfam. Plague also is using an in-between step. Skelligast to free play Skelligast to free play Skelequeen. Means that for just 5 stars and 1 card, Plague can set up a huge 3 creature board. This is the power of Skellis in full effect right now. In Plague, look at this, not even choosing to kill these cards naturally. He could totally just kill Pelfam with Queen, kill Aku with Gasp and Swing for 2 points, but Plague all of a sudden, being passive this whole game, is going on the aggressive, burning this KO here to kill Pelfam with the Skelligast, meaning that Plague will be able to attack Zack's Planet Sindel with Skelequeen for 4 points. Seemingly no longer afraid of Beast like he was just a couple of turns ago. This could suggest that Plague is drawn into Black Hole Blocker, a card that, among other things, negates the effect of Beast of the Black Hole. And a reminder to our viewers, as always, to stay hydrated. As Untap refreshes for me, and Plague goes to grab a drink of water. And I click furiously, somehow believing that spam clicking will make the game open faster. And there we go. Zack in a real tough spot here. Still just has the 2 creature zone, just the 2 battle. And no seemingly easy way to get rid of this 3 creature board. Again, Crash would be nice here, but it's been used. Doesn't have ways to attack. Sure, Zack can play Skelligast here, but that's only going to kill 2 of the creatures. Which means that Plague basically gets a free attack with his second Skelligast. He gets to use it twice instead of once if Zack was able to kill it. That requires less resources from Plague on the next turn. The Jetpack will be nice though. When Skelequeen dies, Zack will be able to free play a 6-star creature. Looks like there's only one option. That Gatomic Gurple Gren. Not the strongest 6-star, but it'll do. And play here gains 2 stars from Sindel. Good to gain 4 for turn. Still gets to hold on to that Skelligast. And now we see, look at this, a Gehenna piece. Next turn, Plague will be able to play his namesake card, Gehenna, which is good in that it gets around a lot of on-death abilities by not killing the creature, not bouncing it to hand, but in fact attaching it to the Gehenna. However, Telepathic Touch requires that you cannot play Gehenna on the turn that you grab it. And so, Plague's going to need to find another way to get rid of this board. Guster plus Skelligast. That's one way to do it. Whirlpool Jetpack will free play Gatomic Ripple Gren. Can't be killed by Skelligast. So if nothing else, Zack will have that Ripple Gren on his turn next. Before he had 2 creature, 2 battle zone, and now just the 1 battle zone. Those Gusters are wreaking havoc on Zack's board. If it were not for that, Zack right now would have 3 creature zones, 2 battle zones, and some extra stars to work with to deal with Plague's board. But instead, he's pretty medium on stars. 13 seems like a lot, but they get spent quickly when you have to pay 4 for that battle zone, putting you at 9, then you have to play a creature, and then you have to do the whole thing over again. Gerpel Gren comes in, kills Guster. And Gehenna comes into play. If you saw that Skelligast do a little side shuffle and be confused, that's because zones in this game are kind of more as counters, not really positions. So you can kind of reshuffle your zones and creatures however you want. That's not an element of this game. What is an element of this game, though, is playing a Gehenna, stealing your opponent's card, and swinging 4 points out of nowhere for free, for no stars, just a couple cards. And making your opponent struggle. That's a big part of this game, making your opponent struggle and annoyed by the powerful creatures and combos your deck can come up with. Plague here at 14 points, taking a commanding lead, and also has 2 Orbos in grave ready to block any points Zack could have. Zack has a slight card advantage, at least in hand. He'll need to make some magic happen if he wants to win this game at this point. Zack can, of course, play a Skelligast, assuming he has it. Could kill the Gehenna, but can't kill both creatures. This is the tough part. And then Plague would simply attack again on its next turn and put Zack in the same position he was. Now both these decks have many ways to free play Skelligast, but it's not an infinite amount of ways. And so Zack can't just trade back and forth forever. Because Plague will eventually run him out of resources in that regard. Although Plague is down 7 cards versus Zack's 11, there is a world where Zack tries to stall out a little bit and play to try to get some deck out points. If at the start of your turn you would draw a card and you have no cards to draw, your opponent gains a point. Zack's good here, telling him to do something weird. Reading the untapped chat. Oftentimes in CG, the weird play is in fact the right play. There's a lot of counterintuitive things you can do that help you preserve card and star advantage that are more useful than being super aggressive. Sometimes you do these super aggressive plays that feel good, like you go for this big burst in points, or you play Beast and then you come back, or you do a big swing, or you kill your opponent's creatures. But if you spend too many resources in the process, you can actually be in a worse position despite having set up a formidable board or gaining a bunch of points. Sometimes it's good to just find a way to stall, to buy a couple of turns as you recoup. Zack here playing seemingly a kind of normal play, playing a Atomic Key to kill the Kahina. Plague had the option there to protect Kahina, to just detach the Gerpel Gren. And that's what Zack's confused about. Because Kahina does read that if this creature would be killed by an attack or an ability, you can kill one card attached to protect it. But that's an optional thing. So Plague here choosing, he wants his 2 zones more than he wants that 100 power, 100 health Kahina, which isn't that strong in play. And this allows him on his turn to come up with a disruptive play. With 100 power and 150 power, he'd have no way to kill that Atomic Key, which would buy Zack time. And if Plague is looking to apply pressure here, he's just going to kill that Kahina and apply that pressure as early as possible. Plague claiming he has a lethal angle here. Telfam comes down, brings Gi to hand. That means Gi's not going to get its death effect. That's a huge part of lethal here. But Zack still has Beast of the Black Hole. Let's remember. And if Play goes for a huge play here, and Zack can respond with Beast, and crashing his own creatures here instead. Interesting. Then plays the Soulstrom. Wow, what a combination this is. Does have 4 creatures of different planets in his grave, which will allow him to play Soulstrom here. Free playing up Humble 3-star. Pays 1 star for the second gas, pays 1 star for the Queen. That's an 8-point swing right there. Swing with 2 of them, that's 6 points right there from Skelegas, Skelequeen. Does Zack have a beast here? This is the moment. And that is game. Plague, in an absolutely dominating game, defeats the creator of Chaos Galaxy with an aggressive play that could have backfired had Zack had Beast But sometimes the fruits go to the bold, gonna get to 20, and Plague will be moving on to round 3 of this tournament. Just 1, 2, 3 wins away from claiming the grand prize. We'll be fighting the winner of me and Unseen Oddish, or me and Finn the Demon, here in the next round. So I'm glad I got a taste of what Plague's deck could do, so I can prepare for him as best I can. And here we see Sendel Control, one of the top contenders in this tournament. Masterfully played by Plague here. Plays it a very slow game in the beginning, really low commit boards, not doing too much, and then right at the end, super aggressive, letting the Kahina die, not protecting it, playing Crash to kill his own creatures, playing Skelligas from the Shroom, big board, big swings, to take it up in the end.